All right, DJ Demers.
That's me.
Great to have you back.
Thanks,
Comedian, podcaster, and now Tonight Show guest.
Yeah.
Amazing. Congrats.
Thanks, buddy.
How was it?
It was great. I mean, it was the Tonight Show with
Yeah.
Jimmy Fallon. So, yeah, it was awesome. I got to do 3 warm-up sets at the Comedy Cellar the night before, too.
Oh, wow.
And I've never performed there, so the whole thing was just amazing.
Did they link that up?
Yeah. And I felt like a real big shot because the booker for Fallon was there with me because he was watching all my set to make any tweaks or tell me something.
Yeah.
Actually, I was kind of nervous about that because I was like, I hope he doesn't tell me to change too much because
Right.
I don't want to. I mean, I'm open to feedback, but when you've been working on something that long, the day before filming it, you're like, I hope there's not going to be like some huge change that he tells me to do.
Yeah.
But anyway, everything he told me to do was just amazing and like made the set better. So it was a great experience. But I felt like a big shot because I was running around from each room in the cellar, and we would go to the next room, and he would just call the host over and be like, he's on the Tonight Show tomorrow. He's got to go up next.
Wow.
So I was just like running from room to room at the cellar, just going up next. It felt pretty cool.
That's such a great experience and just such a well thought out plan to have that have that worked out. And it just shows how much the Cellar cares about comedy and how much the Tonight Show cares about comedy, to have that little link up and to really make sure you're going to A game and you feel like all those feelings you're saying now, like, oh, big shot comedian, I'm here, I've arrived in a way.
Yes.
Because it's not easy to walk into New York and get spots.
No, it's not. Especially at the Comedy Cellar. Like,
Yeah, probably the most,
I don't know if I would have been able to. Like, I could have tried. Sometimes clubs surprise me, really good clubs. You're like, yeah, no problem. And then sometimes even a club where I'm like, oh, of course they'll let me in. They like don't get back to me. So you never know.
Yeah.
But yeah, the Cellar, I probably wouldn't have gotten in. So, and it's just so good to have the person who's booking you there, because his success is riding on your success.
Yeah.
So for him to be that invested and not just be like, we'll see how it goes tomorrow. Like,
Yeah.
he's not leaving anything to chance. It's like, I want to see exactly, because he had the transcript that he had approved, but he wanted to see what's it look like in real life. And a couple of the things he told me, like, I had a ASL interpreter on stage with me, and a couple of the things just really made my performance way better. Like on my second show at the Cellar, I'm like starting out my set, and I'm like, you can see beside me, I've got an ASL interpreter here. And it was like tepid applause. And I was like, oh, I guess you guys don't care. Like, just being a comedian riffing. And then after the set, he was like, your transcript doesn't say you can see I've got an interpreter beside me here. It said, keep that energy going for the interpreter beside me. And he was like, I need you to say it like that so that you take that energy that they give you at the beginning and carry it forward. I was like, oh, okay. So then my third set, I said it like that, and I got a raucous applause for my interpreter, just the way I framed it. And that was a little thing that I might have not picked up on. I mean, I might have ended up saying it that way the day of the show, but maybe I wouldn't have. So little things like that you're able to flesh out the night before makes a world of difference.
Yes, it's those like pro tips, kind of like when you kind of draw attention to like, oh, this crowd sucks. And you're like, well, the crowd was fine. They were maybe just quiet. And then you're just kind of using words to lower energy instead of increase energy.
Yeah, exactly.
And,
yeah, they're responding to you.
Yeah.
And then the Tonight Show is an artificial environment. It's not a stand-up club, so you got to go like 20% higher with your energy than you would think.
Yeah.
So might as well practice that the night before. Don't be all like, oh, you can see I've got to... No, this is the Tonight Show.
Yeah.
Keep it going for my interpreter.
Yeah. Keep the energy high.
Yeah.
It's kind of like doing it's on camera performance, so you got to bring it.
And I mean, I did a rehearsal that day at 30 Rock on the stage, and as recently as maybe like 5 years ago, I would have been like in my head during the rehearsal, because it's just the camera operators, the crew, and a few friends of mine were sitting in the audience. But I would have been like, oh, I'm not going to give it my all. But like this time I was like, no, I like did the full 5 minutes, and I did it exactly how I wanted to do it. So I did 3 sets the night before at the Cellar, and then a full run through that day. So I was like,
you're ready.
I was in the pocket. Yeah.
I love it.
Yeah.
How did it feel versus doing Conan?
I mean, Conan was amazing. Conan, the first time, nothing can really compare, because it was my first time ever doing, and I mean, I had done Just for Laughs, but I loved Conan. I was still living in Canada at the time. I brought my mom. Like, that first time on Conan was just like, that was a dream. But then, I did it 3 times. It started to feel like I was still excited every time, but I was like, "Ooh, I'm getting into the groove of this." So this felt good because it wasn't Conan. Like it was something new. I was
Right.
I was starting to feel like, "Oh man, maybe I'll never do anything but Conan."
You're a Conan comic.
Yeah, exactly. Which
Yeah.
is, not a bad thing, but you want to diversify the portfolio.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, it was the Tonight Show. It was Fallon. It was
Yeah.
New York, and so this was like the coolest experience of my comedy career, I think, because again, not taken away from Conan because I loved all those experiences, but I felt like better than I ever have. Like I wasn't nervous.
Yeah.
The nerves that I had were like all where they were supposed to be. It was like performance anxiety, completely focused. That's the kind of nerves I like. No like extraneous factors, seeping in and distracting me or anything.
Yeah, just the
like that.
natural nerves in the moment, ready to perform. But yeah, that's so great. I'm so happy for you because it's like
Thanks,
there's very few like ultimate stamps in comedy, and that's one of them. To be like Tonight Show.
Yeah, it's the Tonight Show, like that old Carson thing.
Yeah.
Maybe it doesn't quite have that cachet anymore, but then even if you go back and listen to the comics who were on, I was talking to Kathy Ladman, who's a comic. She still performed, but she did the Tonight Show. I think she told me 12 times.
Oh wow.
Maybe 9 times. So that whole thing of like you do Carson once, he invites you over to the couch. Now your career's on fire. Even that was overblown. It did happen for some people, but it does happen for people from Fallon Tonight Show now too. So so it still does have some sort of allure.
Right. I mean, there was that Seinfeld line where he was talking about like what Hollywood can do for you, and he's like, I was on the Tonight Show like 10 times or something, and he's like, guess how many times my phone rang? 0. And you're like, so it's always up to you. It just probably feels like it's a bit more like awesome because it's the only media to be on, but your career is still up to you.
Yeah. You can't sit back and rest after that.
I mean, there are the stories of the phone call, or I get off the bus in LA and the casting director meets me.
Yeah.
Or sometimes my mom is somebody, or like there's those few of those like, okay, we can make you a star, but not really.
No, it's a marathon.
Yeah.
That's another reason I was happy with how the Tonight Show worked out this time, because I didn't get too high with it. Like I loved it and I really soaked it all in, but I've been doing this for a while now, and it's just like I knew that the second I stepped off that stage, the work's going to continue.
Yeah.
And I love that because I love working and I love doing comedy, but there's no misconceptions about what's going to happen. It's like, this is a cool little moment, and then back to the grind.
Yeah, you get on the train, you go to the cellar, you're like, I was on the Tonight Show. You're like, that was yesterday, buddy. You can't just walk in here anymore.
It's funny because they have 4 stages at the cellar, so I did 3, and then Michael Cox, the booker for Fallon, was like, okay, how you feeling? I was like, let's do the 4th one. He's like, you're good, dude.
Yeah.
I'll see you tomorrow. Yeah. But I was like, come on, let's do all 4.
You got the New York multiple sets energy.
Yeah.
So you did the Comedy Cellar, the Village Underground, the one around the corner.
Yeah.
And then Black Cat, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I don't know what the 4th is. But there is a 4th.
There is a 4th, yeah. It's like around the corner. They took over something else. It's one of these other ones. But yeah, I think those are the first 3, and there's a 4th.
And all 3 of them were amazing. Those rooms are insane.
Yeah, definitely.
And you're just, I mean, you see a lot of big names here in LA, so it's not like that different, but New York's a whole different vibe. I'm like standing beside Colin Quinn before he goes on, and young legends.
Were you standing next to Colin Quinn?
I was, yeah.
Oh man,
yeah.
I mean, you can't get any more classic cellar than that.
It's Colin Quinn at the Comedy Cellar, yeah.
Right.
And then I was just 2 nights ago. I was rewatching Comedian, the Jerry Seinfeld.
Yeah, where they have Colin Quinn.
Yeah. Him and Jerry just sitting in the booth talking, and I actually forgot. I just actually went back and rewatched that because I haven't seen it in so long, and I was like, wow. They're at the cellar, and that's Colin Quinn. I was right there.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it for that reason. I hadn't even put it together in my head, but I was like, damn, that's really cool.
Yeah.
It's just, same with the store here in LA or improv. When you're at these cool places, you're like, it feels cool to be a tiny part of the history of these
totally.
places. Yeah.
In the, I can lend it to you, but I have the DVD, and on the DVD, there's a commentary track. And watching it with the commentary track is awesome. Because it's just
Seinfeld?
It's Seinfeld and Colin Quinn over the whole thing, and talking about the moments and then their takes on Orny and all the other stuff and what happened, and it's like it was really good. It's like a whole new movie.
I gotta borrow that.
Yeah, so you can take it off the shelf when we're done. But even though Tonight Show it's not like the 70s again where you've arrived, it definitely helped your follower count, and you've had a boost since then, like a post Fallon boost, which not a lot of people get.
Yeah, and I mean the reel that they put up on Instagram's got huge traction, a couple million plays. So
that's huge.
Yeah, I mean, you take anything you can get, right? Like every little step, every little forget the word for what they do when they're climbing a mountaintop. Anyway,
Rappel, every grip, every grip. Little plastic little thing.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Mountain climbing always reminds me of Mission Impossible 2, where like Tom Cruise is like hanging off the cliff.
That was when he had the luscious flow too.
Such a luscious flow.
Blowing in the mountain air.
Which I rewatched recently, and the hair does not hold up.
What do you mean?
It's not luscious.
No?
It's like not like it's a hairstyle that definitely went out. It's not like Keanu Reeves like cool anymore. It's like, oh, this is very 90s cut here.
Yeah, I don't remember it being cool necessarily. It had like a
almost like a perm or like a flat, like a straightening.
It looked like something like a middle-aged mom would have, like more than a cool
exactly
dude.
Middle-aged mom hair.
Yeah,
but it did have a lot of like this, like oh yeah.
No disrespect to middle-aged moms out there. You're doing the Lord's work.
Yeah, you're married to one. Maybe not middle-aged, but you're married to a mom.
Yeah, middle-aged. Deanne Smith has a great joke where, like, if you don't think you're middle-aged, multiply your age by 2, and then think if people would be sad if you died.
Right. Oh, man, that's so funny. That's really good.
So I got a boost from it, and it was... here's my key metric when I do something now. Did I do as well as I wanted to do? So even if I didn't get the boost from it, I mean, I'm happy that happened, but I think it happened because of my internal metric, which is I did as well as I wanted to do. Like one of my Conan sets, I was not happy with it. And since then, everything I've done has been like trying to avoid all the things that made me have a bad set.
Yeah.
So, this time I had 4 good friends in the green room. That Conan set that I didn't like, I had an agent. This agent brought his teenage son to my taping.
That's no good.
The green room, the energy was all off. So this was just hanging with my friend.
Yeah.
All of a sudden I'm on stage, just shooting
amazing.
the shit.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was fun. It was really fun.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And you're a recently new dad, which is awesome. Congratulations.
That's right. Yeah,
welcome to the dad club.
Thank you.
I like how you were instantly doing dad jokes, which is perfect. Not like cheesy dad jokes, like a dad joke, but jokes about being a father.
Have to.
Yeah.
I mean, if I was talking about anything else, I'd be like, what am I doing? This is all like, I was with my son all morning before I came here, and I'm going to go back home to him from here. Like he is, other than shows at night, he's my whole world right now. So
yeah.
And we had a crazy IVF thing we had to go through for like a year and a half. So I was waiting to do this material for so long, but I didn't want to do it until we had a happy ending, basically, So yeah, the second he was born and I filmed my last special, I was like, dad joke time.
He was born and your joke was born. You're waiting for your joke to be born.
Yes, exactly. For real. Yeah, exactly. The second he came out, I was like, excellent.
Yeah. I mean, I started comedy after I already had kids.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So my first jokes were about my kids.
Huh.
That was like, it was something I always wanted to do. And then once I had kids, I was like, oh, I had these great like kind of moments that I thought were funny. And that's what I first took to the stage to try, and it worked. And I was like, okay, this is what, and it's a big part of what I do on stage too.
Yeah. Oh yeah, for sure it is. I didn't realize that. I thought you evolved into that.
No.
Huh. It's good. I mean, it's a weird thing because it's like so relatable, but also it's such a sign that I'm getting older.
Yeah.
Because like, I remember when I was a young comic and I would hear comics talk about their kids, I'm like, I just felt like, so far away from
You're like,
that.
hang it up, dude. Move out of the way.
No, I just couldn't like really relate to it. And then now I'm like, but even with my hearing aid, when I joke about them, I'm always trying to figure out, because obviously not everyone has hearing aid, not everyone has kids. So I'm just always trying to find like the hook that will hook you, even if you're not in the exact same situation.
Yeah.
Because, Louis C.K., Chewed Up and Shameless, those specials were both, I mean, huge for me. Like right before I started stand-up, I loved both of them. But he was talking about his kids a lot.
Yeah.
I didn't have kids, but it still killed me.
That's part of what I was like, oh, that made me want to do it even more, because he was doing kid material. And I was like, oh, this is like hilarious. And this is kind of like an angle that I could lean into as well.
Yeah. And now he's back.
He's back.
He's everywhere.
Won a Grammy.
True. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, dad stuff. And then you're doing that great joke about like IVF, which is in vitro fertilization, which is the process of making like a baby when you're having difficulties having a pregnancy naturally, right? And at the we did a Canada Day show in Manhattan Beach with like some great Canadian comics, and you went up and you did the bit. And I remember after you came up and you said, you apologized. You're like, I'm sorry that it didn't go well. I wish, don't. And I was like, of course, I'm not mad. I'm glad you're working it out. But I just thought that was so great that you're sticking to this and building it, and how I've watched it progress over multiple shows to be like tighter and better and changing. And that's doing the hard work instead of just going up and doing the material that's like already pre-proven. Yeah. And it inspired me to do that more.
Oh, thank you. I mean, it's rough. Like I really can't think of another way to do it. But nights like the one, your show, I'm like, those are the ones where you're like, man, if I just did the greatest hits, I could have really, hit a home run there. But
yeah.
But then what?
Yeah.
And then the next show, do you do that again? And then do you do it again? And like, I don't know. It's tough for me. The longer I do it too, I'm like, I just can't. I give up on things. Not give up because I filmed a special, but the second I film it, I'm like, I gotta move on. But it is tough because you're gonna have nights where it's not working. But a couple nights ago, I did like that stuff and it like destroyed.
Yeah.
So I'm like, ooh, I'm starting to feel it's starting to come together now, and then that makes the pain from earlier worth it. So
was that the show with Maddie was on?
Yeah,
because he told me how well it did, and that was also the other thing too. I was like, look at DJ. Like, I was like, did he do the IVF stuff? He's like, yeah, man, it fucking killed. And then I was like, oh, that's so great. That made me happy that because to like keep pushing it through.
You weren't like, why couldn't he do that on my show? Why wasn't it ready on my show?
I don't care.
No, but it's a tough process, but that is the fun part because you're scared.
Yeah.
And then if you're not scared, you're like, okay, they're going to laugh here, they're going to laugh here. And then you can just easily, I'm always kind of, in the back of my mind, I always think of this conversation I had with these two comedians when I first started stand-up. And they had both, I was 24 years old. I was a year into it. I'm in the green room with them. They go, how old are you, kid? I say 24. And they're like, we've both been doing stand-up longer than you've been alive. And I'm like, oh. And I'm still naive. I'm like, that's amazing. Do you guys still love it? And like at the same time, they were both like, fuck no. And they went, and then they both went up and I watched their set. And the one guy did a joke. I'm like, I remember seeing that joke. I thought he stole it, but then I was like, no, that was him. I saw it on Just for Laughs when I was a kid.
Oh my God.
So I'm like, you're still doing this bit I saw when I was, 15 years ago when I was 10 years old. So of course you hate it. You're not scared. So that's why I'm like, maybe to my own detriment, I'm always like trying to do new stuff. But
not to detriment, to the long game.
The long game.
Yeah.
But short-term detriment somehow.
No, short-term pain, long-term gain.
That's right.
If you want abs, you got to go, you got to do the work. Not eat the pizza. I don't know, whatever it is. Do the discipline. It's discipline to put in the reps to try to be great. And that's so sad that those guys hate it. Maybe they're just going through the reps for Yuck's money, or just like they're stuck in the grind of Canada. Yeah.
Which is also even more like, really? That's what's keeping you from trying new stuff? Yuck's money? Like, I'm aiming, no offense, but...
was it at Yuck's? I just assumed because it was Canada.
No, it was Absolute, which is like... There's only 2 of those clubs in Canada. So
okay.
Not even Yuck.
Were they headlining?
One was headlining, one was hosting.
Okay.
Yeah. And then the one, I remember the headliner didn't want to leave the green room because there was an episode of Criminal Minds on, and he was about to go up, and he's like, I haven't seen this episode. Like, he didn't want to go on stage because he was so into the Criminal Minds.
Wow. Yeah. So if they're doing it 24 years, and you're 20, how are they, 55?
Yeah, I think they were like 50 or something.
Oh my God.
Maybe the other one was 55.
That's so sad.
I know.
I've like rarely heard comedians say like, I hate it and I still do it because it's so easy not to do.
I know.
That's a very Canadian thing because like comedy's smaller maybe. And like, I mean,
I've met some American cruise ship comedians who hate it too.
Oh, really?
But then, it becomes a paycheck. And then you're like, well, I have no other skills. It's the same as like working at a factory or something. I always think of the Matthew McConaughey line from True Detective, Rushed Cole, his character, where he says, be careful what you get good at. Because if you just get good at stand-up, but like you don't have the passion or whatever, now you're just stuck in it. You're 50. What are you going to do? So if I'm going to do this, and another thing is the IVF stuff, I mean, what else am I going to talk about? That's the most interesting thing.
Yeah.
Like, we tried for 1.5 years to make a baby and then finally made one because of modern medicine. I didn't have a vas deferens, so they had to go in, they had to find sperm in my scrotum. It was this whole ordeal, and I'm going to not talk about that, and I'm going to be like, so...
Yeah, pencils are weird.
Yeah. Can I have that? Pencils
Yeah, please write it down. Take it to... Well, I think that's good protection from you becoming those guys. It's kind of like you see something at an early age, you're like, oh, I do not want to be that.
Yeah.
And it's a good like warning sign, so you don't accidentally, if you didn't know of those guys, maybe there's a chance you might accidentally become them, but it's so clear in your mind that like, I do not want to be those guys. That's like, that would be just this, it's so sad. They're probably dead, but it's so sad.
I hope they're not. Best wishes to them. But in that particular area of life, they didn't necessarily inspire me. But they might be happy otherwise. Who knows?
Yeah.
But it's so tough because I hate 9-to-5 jobs. I got a business degree. I did 9-to-5 job before I got into stand-up. Mm-hmm. But if stand-up was becoming unenjoyable for me, I would gladly go back, especially now that I have a kid and everything. I'm not going to go hit the road and do old jokes that I hate and be away from my family.
Yeah.
Like, it's just, the math doesn't add up.
Right. It's got to be like, really exciting and really driving your personal fulfillment to want to be away from the kids. And also, be on the road, which is post-COVID, is even harder in a way. Even though like the flights and everything and the masks are gone and it's kind of normal, it's still hard. Like it's not... I find traveling to be a little less exciting post-COVID.
Everything's weird now.
Yeah.
I wouldn't even say post-COVID. We're back in it apparently, but yeah, the world feels really weird right now.
Yeah.
Like traveling's weird. The clubs feel weird. Like even getting into clubs, like all the big names are still trying to get back in, get their careers rolling again after COVID. So there's such a log jam right now. So
yeah,
it's really hard to... Everything's like the Sirius XM landscape is changing where a lot of comics make their money. There's like there's a huge like tectonic shift happening right now in the comedy industry, and I'm curious how it's going to play out, but the ground is moving beneath our feet right now.
Yeah.
Sure. Yeah.
Is the Sirius XM like the Canada side changing or just in general?
Oh, dude, it's crazy right now.
Yeah.
It's like, so there's a big lawsuit going on. Have you heard about this?
No.
Oh man, it's a source of great stress for me. I make good money off of Sirius XM. So I have 3 albums and they play my first 2. The third one they didn't even take in yet because they're getting sued. Pandora, Sirius, Spotify. So the way it works is in music you get paid, mm-hmm. you get paid for the actual performance of the song and then the composition of the song as well. There's 2 revenue streams. It's been that way since like 1972, I think.
Yeah.
But comedy is such a new thing in terms of streaming on satellite or terrestrial radio. They only pay you for the actual track,
the master
performance of the track.
Yeah.
Not for the writing of the joke itself.
Yeah. No.
So there's 2 big, what do you call them?
Performance rights agencies?
What?
Performance rights agency?
Yeah, exactly. And they're fighting for the...
Is it BMI and ASCAP?
Well, it's the comedy equivalent of that. There's 2 new organizations
they
that
were formed. I did not know any of this. Wow.
They're trying to be the BMI and ASCAP of comedy. They're called Spoken Giants and Word Collection, I think, or Word Collectors. Terrible name. But...
At least it's not something cheesy like laughs per minute or something.
Yeah.
Actually, that's pretty good.
So that's better than Word Collector or Word Collection. So Spoken Giant came in pretty like amicably.
Yeah.
And they said, we're going to try to figure this out because even in like the yearly, like the annual reports that Sirius and Spotify have been putting out, like in like things to look out for in the future or possible weaknesses or whatever, they've been mentioning that this was probably coming because they saw the writing on the wall that like...
You're talking about like the financial annual reports.
Yes.
Yeah.
They knew, I think for like the last 7 or 8 years, they've known that there's probably going to have to be a change and they were going to have to introduce a second revenue stream. And they mentioned it for comedy. I know they mentioned comedy
it. They mentioned it in general always. There's always a risk that the things could change, but they mentioned it for comedy specifically?
Specifically, from what I've heard. Yeah.
I wonder what percentage of their business is comedy.
I do too.
Yeah.
Well, it might be negligible based on what they did. So Spoken Giant says, well, let's work through this amicably. We'll work together. And then Word Collectors or whatever. And again, this is all communication I've received, so
Yeah.
I may not have the full story, but they came in hot, and they represent the estate of like Robin Williams and George Carlin, and it was more of a like, you better figure this out quick or we're taking all our shit off. So Sirius said, well, first Spotify said, okay, well, screw you. They just took all my albums are off of anybody who's involved with either of those agencies. All their stuff's off Spotify for like 8 months. I haven't had my stuff on there. Then Sirius and Pandora said, okay, well, what if we just stop playing your stuff as much from the artists who are involved in this? And then while they're figuring out this lawsuit, they're not taking any new stuff in. So I just made this new special, and I was counting on the income that was going to come from that. They're not ingesting any new material while this lawsuit is playing out.
In general, or if you're a member of the organizations?
I think for the lawsuit, like while the lawsuit's on, I think in general, I think they're not taking anything in.
That's insane.
Yeah.
Even if you were like a top, if Chappelle puts out an album, they're not taking it in?
It's a good question.
Yeah.
But like big names aren't on there now. Like,
yeah, I mean,
I know Mulaney, I think, Gaffigan.
Yeah, I know that in Spotify, I've collected jokes I like by liking them, and then they're all gone. And like, there's even an Attell album that's like they've taken off every song except for one, which is very interesting too. Yeah. And so like, yeah, all the comedy, every time I'll click through my Spotify and I'll be like, sorry, this track's no longer available. And I'm like, oh, well, I wonder what that song was. I was like, oh, it wasn't a song, it was a joke that they're taking off. But I imagine that the Spotify income is negligible relative to Pandora and Sirius. Like, that's the one that really matters.
Yeah, Spotify, I was like, okay, whatever. Yeah. I mean, I want people to be able to find me there, but income-wise, yeah.
I think a lot of people were like, whatever with Spotify. But Sirius is a big part of, especially Canadians' livelihood.
Yes. Yeah, I mean, like I said, it's a tectonic shift. Like I'm really, especially I produced my last special myself. So I poured a lot of money into it, knowing it's not going to make it back on the YouTube side of things. Yeah. But I was like, that's fine. I'll make it back on the Sirius side of things. Yeah. That's not happening now. So now I'm just out the money I spent on the video side.
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that.
It is what it is. I mean, that's life. But now it's like, okay, the Tonight Show came at a good time, but now I'm trying to figure out how to like make income. And then I'm like, oh, maybe I'll restart my podcast. But it's so hard to make income, like the kind of income that would replace Sirius XM money. Yeah. So just like, I'm not even complaining, but it's just like the last few months has been like, okay, some challenges to overcome here, which I haven't felt in a while. Yeah. Like I've been coasting for a bit. I felt the challenges of trying to reach the next level, but knowing that the level I was at was going to be comfortable base. Yeah. So it happens like when the transition from, CDs to streaming, a lot of people's income dropped, I'm sure on the comedy side too. If you press 5,000 records and you sell 5,000, that's like 50 grand in your pocket, even just selling them after shows and stuff. True.
I mean, you can't sell a CD anymore after a show.
Yeah. What would you sell?
I mean, people sell t-shirts and all that other merch stuff.
Yeah, but I mean, in terms of the actual content you want to sell, like, would you sell, if I were to package a special up, people don't buy DVDs?
They buy vinyl.
There's a vinyl shortage right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to get your vinyl pressed.
Dude, it's crazy right now.
It's kind of like we live in our own version of Russia, where it's like, you can't get things.
Yeah.
And we're not used to it.
I know, exactly.
We're used to like, I need highlighters. Amazon highlighters are here like this afternoon. And so when you're like, I can't, it's almost like anti-American or Canadian. It's like, I can't buy something.
Yeah.
There's a shortage.
Yeah. What
are you talking about?
Yeah. Yeah.
But it is, and that's also investment to like put up the capital to make the vinyls. Yeah. And then hopefully that they sell.
Yeah, it's not cheap. I don't know how much vinyl is, but I imagine that's a pretty significant outlay.
Yeah, I mean, if you're doing 10,000, for example, a couple bucks each, that's 20 grand.
I don't know if I would do 10,000. That's pretty ambitious.
Or whatever it is, 500, whatever.
I do an order of 50.
They actually do smaller runs now, which is kind of cool.
Oh yeah,
yeah, and cool. It'd be cool to have a comedy record store. I mean, it would probably do horribly, but like to have like all the cool albums on vinyl, like from back in the day, and where you can buy comedy merch. It might be kitschy and fun.
I agree with you. I don't know if people like comedy. Like that's another thing I'm trying to assess. When you look at who's doing really well, It's who can put up the most timely clip about abortion.
Yeah.
The new Roe v. Wade thing. Oh, I did a show last night. I filmed it. I got that clip up. Is it the greatest joke I've ever written? No, but it's up today, and it's
got a million.
Yeah. So the whole landscape is changing. Where you're like, even now, like this new IVF stuff I'm working on. I'm gonna hit the road for 2 months in September and October. I'm like, I might just record something at the end of that. 1 camera, maybe 2 cameras, and not be too precious about it.
Yeah.
I'm like trying to figure out what the scene dictates right now. Not like stay in my own habits and try to figure it out, you know?
Totally. Because if the revenue's not there from saving, let me capture the fans and build.
Yes.
I mean, it's kind of the same thing that's been going on since Andrew Schultz, really, which is like clipping is the way. It just is. Like, put it out. Blah, blah, blah. Like, that's until you have the ultimate mass of fans, and then that becomes monetizable.
He's so funny because even the situation I described with like my special and how I was counting on the income from the audio side, I'm telling you that now. I mean, it's not private, it's on a podcast, but if I was Andrew Schultz, I would put a video up and be like, listen, folks, I put all my money into this, but the industry fucked me, so I need money from you. Support me. Like the way he's doing it right now, being like, they tried to edit my joke, so I bought it back from them. Like, he's really good at marketing and like being like, I don't want to say playing the victim, but being like, they're trying to take us down. This is a fight for free speech, and making people think that they're like rallying for some big cause.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I thought we were just telling jokes, but I guess like I got to figure out, especially in these dire financial times, like, should I just go hard? Should I be like 30% comedian, 70% marketer? Because, and no disrespect to him, he's great at what he does, but like, that's what he does. He's a marketing machine.
Yeah.
And then the jokes are like, yeah, that's a good abortion joke. I don't think anybody would have told you not to do that, but okay, your marketing worked.
Yeah.
So I'm like, should I put a video up being like, listen, DJ gang,
They're coming after deaf people.
don't let them censor the deaf jokes.
Yeah.
Don't let them silence us.
Can you hear this? No, good. They're coming after you.
But for real, it's like this.
But it is we are self-marketers. Like, you used to be able to be a talent, you're a marketer. You're a clickbait manufacturer.
Yeah.
Unless your other revenue streams are solid from acting, podcasts, or whatever, you are a media marketer for short form content. And I find it personally a little disheartening when at the times when I'm like, I don't want to do that. And then you feel like I have to do that.
Yeah.
And even like, there pretty much isn't a comic that I think is great that isn't doing it now, other than like the ultimate legends like Chappelle and like the top legends of, you know, years past. But like every comic that I think is like so funny today is clipping.
I know.
And it's happening even more in New York now than it is here, where it used to be the inverse.
Yeah.
The New York comics are like boom, 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 boom. They're like beating LA at media, which is insane.
I know.
Yeah.
And it's working for them. You build a following and then they come out to your show. And then,
yeah. But I think what Schultz did is super smart. Like, it's risky, you know, and telling a good story is like telling the story about what's happening to the special and why it's important. Like, just telling that story.
People love it.
People love it. And it's a great way. I mean, so tempting just to be like, fuck it, I got paid. I'll take it as a joke. I've already made. Why do I need to start a new fight? Why do I need to put everything on the line now? And that's, I think, why people follow him and are into him, because he's, you know, there's an honesty to him that's all the great podcasters and media people have. There's like an absolute honesty, and like, this is what I stand for, and I don't care.
Yeah.
And
but is there honesty? Because let me ask you this from a business perspective. I agree with you on the whole. He's a very honest individual, like, and he's willing to dive into anything. But the buying his special back, what the hell does that mean? You wouldn't have to buy it back, would you? They would just say, we're nullifying this agreement, and now the special is back to you. You wouldn't have to pay them. He's basically saying he just gave them the money back that they gave him. He didn't buy anything back.
Yeah, well, we don't know what the if they paid for something that's valuable and they have certain rights over it, it's entirely possible that they didn't just say, pay me what it cost. They might have said, you have to pay me what it cost plus X.
Maybe.
Because they have overhead and stuff and, you know, projections and, you know, very rarely, like, can you go to a company that made something with their blood, sweat, and there's a conflict and just be like, well, I'll pay you what you've made it for and get out. I've almost never seen that happen.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Unless they were like, hey, we understand. Unless they're very artist friendly, and they could have been like, hey, we understand. We just can't. We're not willing to take that kind of public risk with the material. Just pay us, give us back the money, and we'll go our separate ways. That's also possible. And I agree. It's less exciting of a story to tell.
Yeah.
But I think it's more likely that it's probably plus something.
I mean, it's so transparent now. It's like you're building a fan base that just like want to love you. So your jokes are like kind of important, but
it's we're becoming personal appearance. Comedy is the personal appearance.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
And there's still an element. It hasn't fully tarnished it with me because I still see like great comedians doing amazing stuff, and I'm like, oh my God. I left just like Jordan Jensen. Have you seen her?
Jordan who?
Jensen. She opens for Louis. She came out and did the Kibitz Room show. Not an easy room.
Yeah.
Went on last after like 8 other comics. Destroyed. And you're just like, wow. Like, and that whenever I see that, I leave being like writing and just being like stepping it up.
Yeah.
Like that's the stuff that's inspiring. The business stuff is like inspiring, but in like I have to do that now way. It's like, it's like, what kind of like using your business degree. It's not really using the comedy mind. It's kind of like, I have to do this other job. It's the job part. Yeah. The clipping and that. I mean, I don't even really like editing. I don't know how you feel about editing, but like I will delay editing a podcast, a clip forever because I just don't enjoy clicking around on a screen.
Yeah, I can get in a groove with it, but it's definitely not my favorite thing to do.
Yeah.
It's not stand-up. All I care about is stand-up. Everything else is like you said, you're the marketing department, you're the PR department.
I mean, we are YouTubers in a way.
Yeah.
Like that's real. And it's hard when you're like, oh, comedy, I have to be a /YouTuber. Okay. But then like any video on Fortnite does like millions more than anything in comedy. And you're like, okay, so I'm a YouTuber competing in a space that YouTube really looks like stuff that's not comedy in general.
Yeah. And then even if you do a comedy bit, does it tap into the current zeitgeist? Yeah. And if it doesn't, then what are you doing? Like, why would it show up in anybody's algorithm? I like what Mark Norman's doing with a way to generate clips where he's like, he'll go and say, well, ask me a question. And then the audience will ask a question. And then so you always have something you can burn from every... Yeah. I'm like, that's smart. Very smart. I think Sam Morrill's doing that too. Oh, yeah? I think so. Yeah, it's because it's a good way to be like, well, I don't have to like look at the news and write, but I hear something that's never going to be repeated. Yeah. And it's also not like, hey, you guys, it's not the same crowd work stuff. Mm-hmm. You know, and you're kind of forcing crowd work. Yeah. You're forcing a crowd work clip, which is, keeps the media up, builds the followers, and then... Yeah, like there's never before been a time where while you're on stage doing a live show, you're thinking about how the online world will receive what you're talking about. Yeah. So it's like, I used to love stand-up because of the ephemeral nature of it. Like, we're all in this moment right now, and then it's gone. What a beautiful thing. And now it's like, this is not ephemeral. Anything you say or do will be recorded and reproduced for my own personal gain. Yeah. It's just a whole different mindset, but the audience knows that now too. So it's like, don't fight it. How do you make money off it, basically? Yeah. I did a great Don't Tell show, and I was so happy with it. I taped it, and then I watched it back, and I was like, oh, I don't have any disposable stuff to clip right now. And that kind of made me feel like, oh, kind of sad. But you don't have any what? Like, I didn't get any disposable crowd worky clips that I can throw away right now. Because I'm like, oh, I'm still kind of working on this stuff. I don't want to burn any of this one stuff right now. And I'm like, I kind of felt sad. I was like, oh, I should have saved a minute to do that. Yeah. So I had some content. Yeah. Yeah, now I barely film. I'm bad at it, but like I like to do crowd work and fuck around a little bit. And now every time I do that and I have a good moment in the back of my head, I'm like, should have had a camera. Yeah. Like I don't even just appreciate it for the beautiful moment we had anymore. I carry a camera everywhere, no matter what now, because every time I'm too cool to film, I'm like, that was great. Yes. Yeah. Yeah. Don't be too cool to film. You're right. Yeah. I think I did this pact with a friend of mine who we said, let's have like a race to $1 million. He won,
but it was kind of like an interesting
You already
pact.
hit it?
Oh yeah, he hit it a long time ago. But let's do a follower race. Like
Okay.
to push ourselves to reach like some big number.
What are you at now?
I'm at like a pathetic 2,200 on Instagram.
Wow, it's not pathetic. That's 2,200 people who like
Yeah.
Latif. I was at like 8 or 9 maybe, and then the Tonight Show pushed me up to 15.
That's huge.
Not bad. Still can't get verified.
No?
Instagram, man. Every time they're like, nah, dude. But you need an agent to do that for you, or a manager. So
Yeah.
I got to get me one of those. Let's say
Let's go big and bold. Race to 100,000.
100,000?
Yeah.
Okay. By when? Is it just...
Well, okay, let's do a date. How about 18 months?
Okay.
That's doable. That's pretty
Oh,
long.
doable, yeah.
Yeah.
I just have to actually post and not be a silent ghost online.
It'll force us not to be like a silent bitch. You want to
I'm
put
going to
some
bring a camera to every show, and I'm going to put up 2 clips a week.
Yeah.
How's that sound to you?
That sounds great.
No, I like it. I'll take that motivation. 100,000, 18 months. So right now is July. So we'll say, what, like January 2024?
January 2024.
Okay.
And you got a head start.
Yeah.
And then the loser has
But
to...
I don't really have I have a head start, but it's a negligible one when you think we're trying to get to 100,000. Like,
Yeah,
I have
I'll take it.
85,000 more. You have 98,000.
Yeah, I've had kids longer, so I like it. And then the loser buys dinner.
Okay.
Even though I guess in the other way, the millionaire should buy dinner. But it's okay. Loser buys
But you
dinner.
know, rich people don't buy stuff. They get
Hey,
everything
there
given
you
to them.
go. Well, I really enjoyed this episode, DJ. We really talked about a lot of
It's
stuff.
over?
I mean, we can keep going if you want. I usually do 45
Wow. Okay. No, that's great.
and keep it short and sweet. You know, you get the... I'd rather do shorter episodes that are tighter than drawing them out, you know? And I don't think it would be a draw out, but like I think the short and sweet kind of is good for the metrics.
For sure.
Yeah.
I agree.
Well, tell us where to follow you so you can get your Instagram up in the
That's
competition.
right. Help me beat Latif so I can get some free dinner.
And we can do little graphs and stuff.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, but like where we're at. I'll post a little graph on
Oh, okay. Yeah,
on the
yeah.
socials.
DJ Demers on Instagram and TikTok.
latiftayour on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter.
Ooh, you're on Twitter?
Yeah.
I got rid of it a couple years ago.
It's not important. I get like 3 likes on a tweet, but it is it does exist. But Instagram's the one we're doing, right?
Instagram.
Instagram's the one that matters. And thanks again. I'm so happy for all your success. I'm so glad the Vaz deference is shining, and you did so well on the Tonight Show. So
Thanks, buddy.
we'll see you
you were
soon.
one of the first people I told on a hike.
Yeah. Oh, I feel honored.
Yeah, yeah.
All right. Take care.
Thanks for having me, buddy.